Meghan Markle walked into MasterChef Australia expecting applause, but what she actually served was a question she couldn't answer, and that single silence just ripped through the entire illusion like it had been waiting to explode. And the moment it happened, something shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, almost too quietly. The kind of silence that feels wrong. The kind that makes people lean forward and think, wait, what just happened?
Cooking for her is crazy.
Everyone's favourite Duchess has made an surprise appearance on MasterChef in Australia, Chris.
I really don't know what to do.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Sorry, I'm allergic to BS.
She stepped into that kitchen like a finished story, a brand already written, a persona already polished, cameras ready, introductions glowing. The Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, positioned as this effortless authority, this woman who had built an entire comeback around food, warmth, hosting, connection. But something didn't match, something tiny, something so simple it almost felt ridiculous to notice until it wasn't.
It doesn't work for you to shoulders back, breasts out, headlights going, and try to look as bitchy as possible.
Meghan, off.
Because the question wasn't complicated. It wasn't clever. It wasn't even slightly challenging. What do you cook for your own family? That's it. No tricks. No pressure. Just a question, slow, normal. It should have landed instantly. And yet she paused, tilted her head, smiled, called it a great question. And then nothing. No dish, no answer, no simple human response that anyone who actually cooks would have ready without thinking.
Can I ask you, please, Meghan, what is your favorite dish to cook for the family?
It's a tough one because I have a lot of palates to appease. My husband, being from the UK, loves a lot of meat, potatoes, cream sauce. California girl, I like grilled fish, grilled meats, lots of citrus. I just like using really pure, natural herbs and spices. You know, again, if you can pull fresh herbs, like, do you say herbs or herbs here? We say herbs. You do?
She don't cook.
I'm sorry.
She don't cook.
It's weird.
And that's where it started unraveling. Not in a loud collapse, but in a slow, uncomfortable drift. Because instead of answering, Meghan Markle started circling, talking about different palates, talking about preferences, talking about everything except the one thing she was asked. A woman positioned as a lifestyle expert suddenly couldn't name a single meal she cooks. Not pasta, not chicken, not anything.
She also revealed that the kids, Archie and Lilibet's palates, they're progressing very nicely. They'll even happily eat Brussels sprouts. And I think that's the real headline here. Kids liking Brussels sprouts, who would have thought?
Then came the detour. Harry likes meat, potatoes, cream sauces. She's a California girl, grilled fish, citrus, herbs, freshness. It sounded polished. It sounded complete, but it wasn't the answer. It wasn't even close. The question wasn't what Harry likes. The question wasn't about brand identity. It was personal, direct, real, and somehow that's exactly where everything fell apart.
Why can't she name the favorite meal? I've got a lot of palates to appease. So does every mother on earth. What are you saying? Of course, obviously you have more than one child. You do, but somehow we managed to find an option, and most mothers or fathers, if they're the family cook, would have it at the ready.
Because suddenly the pattern started forming. Every word sounded right. Every phrase fit perfectly, but none of it landed. It was like watching someone perform cooking instead of actually talking about it. And the longer it went on, the clearer it became this wasn't about food. This was about presentation. And that moment, that tiny gap where a real answer should have been, it didn't stay small. It followed her. It grew. It spread. Because anyone who cooks really cooks has an answer ready, instantly, without thinking. That's what made the silence so loud. Then the replay started. Television picked it up. The clip ran again, and suddenly what looked polished in real time started looking different. The phrases sounded rehearsed. The pauses stretched longer. The missing answer became impossible to ignore. And then the reactions hit. Not subtle, not gentle, brutal. Every movement dissected. Every expression questioned. Even the way Meghan Markle lifted a spoon became a moment people couldn't stop analyzing. Too slow, too deliberate, too aware. Like every bite wasn't about the food, it was about the camera catching it. Because this wasn't just any appearance. This was MasterChef Australia, a kitchen filled with people whose entire lives revolve around food, real cooking, real pressure. And right in the middle of it stood someone who looked disconnected. And the deeper you looked, the stranger it became. The pineapple demonstration. A simple fruit turned into a moment, explained like a revelation, presented like a secret. But when stripped of the presentation, it was just pineapple. That's all it was, and that's when the tone shifted completely. Because suddenly, it wasn't about what Meghan Markle said, it was about what she didn't say. The missing dish, the missing clarity, the missing proof behind the image. And the audience noticed, faster than anyone expected. Because once that gap appears, everything else starts to look different. The polished phrases, the carefully curated identity, the lifestyle image built around kitchens and warmth and effortless hosting, it all started to feel like it was being held together by something fragile. And then came the bigger question, not spoken directly, but hanging there. Heavy, does Meghan Markle actually cook? Or does she just know how to make food look good on camera? Because everything about that appearance felt controlled. Managed, designed, the reactions, the pauses, the way conversations moved. Even the energy in the room seemed slightly off, like something wasn't flowing naturally. And then the contrast became impossible to ignore. Contestants sweating, rushing, building complex dishes under pressure. And beside them, a presence that felt polished, calm, almost untouched by the chaos. Like two completely different realities colliding in one kitchen. And once people saw it, they couldn't unsee it. The performance, the distance, the way every moment seemed slightly staged, not fake, not entirely, but not real enough either. Because here's the thing that keeps circling back. The one detail that refuses to disappear. The simplest question, the easiest answer, the moment that should have grounded everything. What do you cook for your family? And after everything, every show, every product, every carefully crafted image, Meghan Markle still didn't answer it. Not clearly, not directly, not in a way that made the entire story feel real. And that's where the tension sits. Still unresolved, still growing, because this wasn't a scandal built by outsiders. It wasn't a narrative forced into existence. It came from one moment, one question, one silence that said more than any answer ever could. And just when it felt like the tension might settle, the episode kept moving, and somehow every next moment only made the earlier silence louder, sharper, more impossible to ignore. Because instead of correcting that gap, instead of grounding the image with something real, Meghan Markle kept building around it, layer after layer, like a structure designed to look complete from a distance, but fragile the closer you step toward it. The judging continued, but something had changed. The food was no longer the focus. It couldn't be. Every reaction, every pause, every carefully timed expression from Meghan Markle started pulling attention away from the plates and back toward the performance itself. A spoon lifted became a scene. A bite became a moment. A simple taste stretched into something theatrical, something that felt rehearsed even when it was supposed to be spontaneous. And once that rhythm set in, it repeated again and again, almost predictably, like the same note being played over and over until the audience started recognizing it before it even happened. Then the environment itself began to feel divided. On one side, MasterChef Australia loud, chaotic, fast, full of movement and heat and urgency. On the other, Meghan Markle calm, composed, controlled, almost untouched by the pressure that defined everything around her. It didn't clash immediately, but slowly it created distance, a visual disconnect, a sense that the person placed at the center of the kitchen wasn't fully part of it. And then came the smaller details, the ones that usually go unnoticed, except this time they didn't. The way Meghan Markle spoke to contestants, the broad compliments, the polished lines that sounded complete but didn't say much, the way conversation seemed to circle back to familiar phrases instead of diving deeper into the food itself. It felt less like analysis and more like narration, like describing the idea of a dish instead of actually engaging with it. And just as that pattern started to settle, something else entered the frame and shifted everything again. Harry, not physically in the kitchen, not part of the competition, but suddenly present, suddenly central, suddenly pulling the entire moment into a completely different direction. Because the second Harry appeared, the focus moved. Instantly, the food paused. The competition slowed. The room adjusted itself around that presence. What should have been a brief interruption became something else entirely. Meghan Markle introduced Harry, brought Harry into the moment, connected the dishes back to Harry, and just like that, the competition wasn't just about cooking anymore. It became another scene, another narrative, another reminder of the connection that always draws attention no matter the setting. And that shift mattered because it raised a question that lingered longer than the call itself. If Meghan Markle was meant to carry the moment, why did the moment feel stronger when Harry appeared? Why did the energy change so instantly? Why did let the room respond differently. Then came the details behind the scenes, the ones that didn't fully appear on screen but still shaped everything. The introduction adjustments, the language changes, the subtle edits that turned one version of the moment into another. And suddenly, the polished surface started to look more like something carefully managed rather than naturally unfolding. But the most unsettling part wasn't the edits. It wasn't the reactions. It wasn't even the interruptions. It was the pattern that connected everything together. Because the same structure kept repeating presentation first, substance second, image leading, reality following, and every time that pattern appeared, it pointed back to the same unresolved question that had started it all. And then the deeper contradiction surfaced, quietly but unmistakably. The story of food itself, the way Meghan Markle described growing up, surrounded by fresh ingredients, California produce, a home filled with cooking, perfectly aligned with the role being played in that moment. But layered against other versions, other stories told at different times, it created a strange overlap. Different details, different tones, different realities depending on the audience. And that's where everything connects, not in one big reveal, not in one dramatic confrontation, but in a series of small, consistent shifts that all point in the same direction. The missing dish, the polished language, the staged feeling moments, the sudden reliance on Harry, the adjusted introductions, the shifting backstory. Each one on its own feels minor. Together, they form something much harder to ignore, because by the end of it, the kitchen wasn't what people were talking about. The food wasn't what stayed in people's minds. It was the gap, the absence, the one detail that should have been the easiest thing to deliver and somehow became the hardest. And that's what makes this linger, not because of what was shown, but because of what wasn't. The answer that never came, the clarity that never landed, the reality that never fully matched the image being presented. And even now, after the camera stopped, after the clips replayed, after the reaction spread, that same question is still sitting there, unchanged, unanswered, impossible to shake. What does Meghan Markle actually cook? And the longer that question stays unanswered, the louder it becomes.